You're being
yeah. They say, oh, black people, we're not together, we don't work together. It's like everyone's forgotten who they are. They don't know what their spirituality is. They don't know what their language is. They talk about slavery.
It's true.
And it's like, no. 24,000 years, new cycle.
Yeah.
Wake up. This is
Right.
who you are. You can come together. You can work together. You can love each other. All these other behaviors you've been taught by programming and learned programming by people that don't like you or adverse to you or don't want you to remember who you are and become who you're supposed to be.
That's it. What was your profound moment in life where you were just like, whoa?
In Wusabat, we use the word, so we would say Nuwapian. Nuwapian became watered down to from newborns to Nubian. Today, you know, people that didn't know, didn't understand, they just say, oh, you're black. But what we would call ourselves is Nuwapian.
Okay.
Or Sabian.
Okay.
But obviously, because of the divisions of religion and so forth, everyone's gonna be like, no, I'm not. I'm a Christian. I'm a Muslim. I'm a Jew. I'm Jamaican. I'm Trinidadian. I'm Ghanaian. I'm Nigerian. No, you're not. That's labels. People have labeled you based on either a situation, a location, or an action that you've taken on. Like, what makes you like African American? It's just a label.
It's a category.
Yeah, so then you have to go, okay, what was I before the label? Your DNA.
So my name is Asai. I grew up with Christian beliefs or kind of traditions, but they were never really strong and I was never held to them.
Okay.
And then I started to look into Buddhism and I was never interested in philosophy or any of this knowledge. I just knew that if you keep peddling something to me, I don't want it. And I was seeing that a lot of church stuff was pushed that way and all these other religions. And I'm thinking, that doesn't make sense. It should be, you just find it. So I respected all of these things and I'd always adopt the Bruce Lee way, which is that to take different elements of it and make it yours uniquely. And that was kind of what it is.
Right.
You know, and it kind of made sense to me.
Right.
So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, so welcome,
so
welcome to Each One Teach One.
Thank you.
And Ask Us Anything. So, of course, I'm Seqen.
Yes.
I'm a student teacher of the master teacher, Pana Babyanun, who, for me, was like the end of the road in my search in terms of, like you say, when you get to that point where like, you're like, no, that's not for me, that's not for me, that's not for me. But you've got questions and then you're looking for answers and none of them, whether it was the monotheistic religions or just like organizations or whatever, no one could answer the questions. And it's funny because this is the similar story that you hear a lot of people that come into Wusabat are telling us now as well. Like it's like they're on a journey, they're asking questions, trying to find the truth. And then they come across Pana Babyanun. And then he just answers all your questions. And then it's not like you don't have any more questions, but it's like the questions change. You want to know deeper things now. You want to take it to a higher level. So that's how I came into Wusabat. Wusabat is the culture that literally is the foundation for everything. And so that's what we're about. And now we're just literally sharing Wusabat with everyone else so that they can also experience, you know, the good news. So that's why we're here.
So then what was your profound moment in life where you were just like, whoa, like what I'm hearing don't add up right, I need to go and seek these answers. What was that for you?
Do you know what? That's a really good question because it goes back to when I was a child. And I think that for a lot of people, as a child, you just instinctively have questions. You just like, mommy, what's this? Mommy, what's that? And if you have a mommy and daddy around, if you don't, you kind of go inside yourself. And you may have visitors and beings that you communicate with, or you start writing and drawing things, or you find a way to express yourself. And so, but like you, I was brought up in a Christian home, Catholic to be precise, and
how was that?
Never resonated at all. Because it's like, you know, you're asked to, like, I don't know, like you follow, you go to church, you do the Holy Communion and all that stuff, and the environment just didn't resonate. And so obviously I quickly kind of like stopped going church.
Right.
And then in life, you just kind of like, if you don't have anyone to turn to, you meet friends, your peers, and then you guys talk and you go out, you do things. And I think at that point is where you start to see other perspectives. Like, okay, your friend might be a Muslim and another one might be a Christian, and you have conversations, you ask questions, and you know, and then yeah, it was always about the questions for me. So in my teens, I started to kind of go back to when I was a child and like had all these questions where I used to like just ponder about the universe, look out into the stars, wonder what else is out there. And then
diarying these things? Like
no, not at that stage.
Not at that, okay.
But then in my kind of like creativity, because I got into music, I started to write. I started to pen lyrics and things like that. So in that way, and poems and right. So that's when I think the writing came. But the questions were always there, and I found like no one could answer them. And obviously, being what people consider black, we face a lot of racism in terms of just society, you know, and like, and I used to always think about, you know, why? And then obviously came across activist people like, you know, your Malcolm X's, your, you know, Martin Luther King's,
absolutely,
and the people that were, you know, fighting
speaking
out.
Marcus
Garvey's, you know, started to like be like, you know, like I like these guys, what they're standing for. At least they're able to stand up for for something.
Fred Hampton.
Exactly. So then I started to listen to like tapes back then, and then I think I got my first the moment that you've asked the question about that moment. That moment.
That's the moment.
So I would be out there on road with my friends and doing whatever, you know, we do, and really always being saved and escaping situations
like near misses.
near misses. And I'm thinking eventually it's like someone's definitely looking out for me. And then one day I remember, I've said this many times, and because everyone keeps asking, that was the moment. Like I was sitting on my computer and I was like working away because I was studying business and IT at the time. So I was working on the computer doing something, and then I think it was my brother gave me this audio recording of a tape, and I was playing it, cassettes back then.
Yes.
And as I was working out, and then this voice came on, and the voice was so powerful. And it literally stopped me in my tracks. So I was like working, and then the more I was listening, and I just kind of like slowly was like, and I remember saying, now there's one person on this planet that knows what they're talking about. And I'll never forget that statement. I said, that's one person who knows what they're talking about. And it was, of course, Dr. York, Dr. Malachi Z. York, the master teacher. I didn't know that's who he was at the time. And he was known as Imam Isa at the time. So that was it, the tones. And now, many years later on, you know, he has a 3-tone voice. So he has like 3 tones in one. And that tone, it resonates, and it kind of gets to you, you know, to your heart seat, and you feel it, and there's no denying it. But at the time, because he had an American accent, remember I was saying I was looking like the activist at the time, so I thought it might have been Farrakhan, because at that point, kind of Farrakhan was quite popular, and he had an American accent, and the person sounded that type of lingo, powerful. So I thought, is that? But I didn't know. So then later on, I got to distinguish that it wasn't Farrakhan, and then that led me to reading my first book, and then I read.
Which was?
It was called The Book of Names.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the very, very first books like he published where you can see that he actually typed them out on a typewriter himself, and kind of put it together, because obviously he was putting the books together initially by himself. So, but that book was profound because it literally told me information about who, as Black people, who we were, where we came from, our spirituality, went into 9 ether. He just broke it down to the point where I was just like, whoa. and that was it. I think, like everyone else says, their first book that has that impact. After that, then it just leads you to the next book and the next one and the next one.
Right.
And then once I found out who he was and the mission and what the mission was about, and that, you know, he spoke. The thing about him is that he didn't belong to like a particular group. He spoke about everyone and everything and every subject.
Right.
It was like, and he had the language as well. So the Arabic, it was just flowing. The, you know, the Hebrew, the Greek, whatever it was, he was breaking things down in English, but going to the language. And it didn't matter if you were Christian, Muslim, Jew,
just give it to you.
Scientist, bam. So then that was I was like,
yeah,
that's it.
Like masterclass.
Yeah. And then literally masterclass. Nothing like it. So then I started to read more and more books, found a community, got involved, started studying, and then started teaching myself later on, and been here ever since. And just living Wusabat now as much as we possibly can under the circumstances of not being in our own environment, and you know what I mean. So
right.
Yeah, I know it's a bit of a long
No, of course. Like it's
testimony,
it's your thing. And I thought, like, let me ask you something that's about like why you're here, basically.
Yeah. Because sometimes
that's important.
We don't do that, you know.
Yeah, no, it's important to know. You know,
how did I get?
Yeah, because you're the face of this, I guess, in London, right? In a sense. So, you know, you have
there's many faces. I just put myself out there.
Okay, so one of many, but the one I came across and the one that many people I know came across as well.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, why? You know? And that's why I asked.
And how did you come across it, and what was it for you? Because I got a little gist of kind of where you came and your background.
So what was my kind of...
That moment,
That, somebody asked me that when I was away, and I think it was when I took shrooms. Okay, I took shrooms, and the reason I took them is because a friend of mine, Sassari,
shouting him out,
Sassari, brilliant guy.
Yeah.
I got him onto your videos as well.
Yeah.
And he said to me, "Look, I know you will take. I know you. This is good for you because you're seeking certain information.
Right.
Right. Just notice, not to just a party drug." So I said, okay, and I didn't source it, it sourced me, right? Because I didn't know who to ask about this stuff. Anyway, I got that. Long story short, I took it with him, and it wasn't enough. And I was like, oh, okay, this is nothing then. And then somebody else gave me more, and I said, how much is it? And he said, I don't know, you should weigh it. And I said, don't worry about it, clunk. And then I took it, time went on, and it was almost as if I was in a VR headset business going on here. And I was laying in my bed, and I was playing some, like frequency music. And it was like a Buddha, golden Buddha. So I'm sitting there like this, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing like a tomb, like an Egyptian tomb.
Right.
And I always start thinking, everything does lead back to Africa, or Africa and Egypt at some point. So I'm in this thing, and I'm starting to see silhouettes of Osiris, silhouette of Anubis, and silhouette of Thoth. And I'm thinking,
Hootie.
Right. The big one. And then I'm thinking, why am I seeing these things? Right. And then I look up and I see this dark thing come down, like alien sort of thing. But it was Anubis. And I jumped out of my chair, and out of my bed. And I was thinking, it's not real. You need to face something.
Right.
So I took a deep breath and sat back into my bed. And then I looked up again, and I saw it, and I jumped out again. And I was like, okay, this is, I'm going to lose it.
Yeah.
So I backed my courage back up again and laid flat and in stillness. And by that time, it was gone. And I was just like, damn, I missed it. And when I looked up, I see Thoth just go. And then I was like, woke up. And after that, I started seeking knowledge. I started to look at. I came across
and before that, had you been in any kind of studies with Egypt or anything?
No.
Okay.
The only thing I could say is when I was a child, and I used to like the hieroglyphs, and I used to have the stencils, and I used
Yeah.
to put the things together, and here like Mother's Day
Yeah.
with the you know whatnot, and I did have the toy, you know, cement, you know that game.
Yeah.
So I did have those things in mind, but you know I was like 7,
Right.
never been there or nothing, so it's pretty much dormant
Right.
until gnosis bites happen. And then after that, I just started chasing this information, and yeah, eventually after 2 years, it led me to here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
when you were chasing, where did your journey take you before you
so
got here?
yeah, all right, man. So first of all, I looked at Billy Carson because
Okay.
he was only because he was talking about the emerald tablets, and I'm thinking, oh, Egypt, tablet. That's okay. Let's have a look at that.
Right.
So I went and looked into those things, and I thought, okay, that's really interesting. I got what I needed, and then, oh, the Kybalion. Oh, what's that? And then I'm like, Hermeticism. And I start looking at all these other things, and I'm thinking, okay, so those informations are outside of religion and constructs and controlling language.
Yeah.
So I just thought, okay, these are things, and they also predate all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, enumerate list, what's that? Okay, so I started looking at all these concepts, and then philosophy came in, and it all tied in, and then so from there I moved over to probably neuroKnowledge, maybe a year ago,
Okay.
and then that was like my side information, and then I was looking at all these other things, and then all of a sudden I see your face come up, maybe like last year. I'm thinking, okay, I'm thinking I don't want to take too much information because you have to discern what you're getting as well.
Right, at the same time, yes.
Yeah. So, and that's why we live in the situation where we are, because it's misinformation mixed with.
Yeah. Correct.
So, so I had to just be like, oh, okay, all these new faces, what are they about, right? What are they telling me that's different? Is it an AI voice that's just repeating something from ChatGPT? I'm not hating it,
Yeah.
but is it really going to be something that's going to connect with me? So, and then at some point I was like, okay, let's hear what you're saying. And I was like, whoa, okay. And it's similar to the things that I've been looking at. You know, like the Gnosticism way of getting to things, and
Yes.
you know, the Yaldabaoth and all that stuff, and the Demiurge, all these different stories. And I'm thinking, like, esoterically, what you're saying is it's
Aligned.
together. So here I am.
Okay. Good. Yeah, that's the thing, that the journey, and it's good when people have their journey in their own mind and they're not heavily like, do you know what I mean? You got to follow this, you got to do this, and if you don't, then you'll go into hell, or you're cast out, or you're a heathen, or, you know, because that's what happens with religion, and then you start to realize it is the programming.
Yeah.
And some people are afraid because that's what the theme is. It's like you're afraid to ask questions because you've been told, like, if you do, you're going against the grain, you're blaspheming, you're going to go to hell.
Something.
It's like, so you feel like, you know, so when you are able to, first of all, this is something I talk about a lot. I call it the 3 C's. One of my colleagues, Patrick Harris, I kind of borrowed it from him, but he said, like,
copyright,
courage.
Yeah.
He may have got it from somewhere else as well, but, you know, we all share, right?
Of course.
So courage to be able to go, look, I know what the programming is, but I want to step out of that and let me analyze and scrutinize and check things out, and let me make the decisions for me, because this is my soul. That's it. No one else's.
That's it.
So you need that courage.
Yeah.
And then, like anything else that you're serious about, that's the first C. You then got to be committed to it. Because if you don't have any commitment, it's just going to be like here today, gone tomorrow. It's just like a fad or fashion, phase, or, do you know what I mean? A phase, So you got to be committed to say, at least let me give it, like you said, a year, 2 years, or whatever it is to really dive in.
Right.
And the last C is the consistency, because you got to be consistent. And you know, some people, again, like, they're not consistent, and it becomes like, because even with Wusabat, we meet and we reach so many people, just like, you know, whatever other method that people push out, you know, they tell you become fishers of men. But then, how many of the people that come across it are consistent or are serious or really want it? Because everybody says they want the truth,
Right.
until they get it. because getting the truth means responsibility,
changing structure,
alchemizing.
Yeah.
You gotta fix the things that you need
Right.
fixing.
Oof.
And the work has to step in, and this is where you realize, look, it's not as simple as being dipped in water and, you know, you're born again. It's not that easy. You know?
Right.
No one ain't coming to save you from your sins. You've got to do the work.
That's it.
And at that point, I think when people start to like, okay, so this is not good for my being. This is not good for my body. That's not good for me. That environment's not good for me. Those people are not good for me. I got to start eating properly. I got to start to cut out and literally chip away at yourself to
sculpt
that rough ashlar to become that, you know,
marble finish.
Exactly. That's the work.
Right.
And you can call it shadow work, all these
Right.
terms that people have got now to say, I'm going to look into myself.
Right.
And realize I'm the God and the devil at the same time.
That's it. That's
And I'm not special. We're all special, but I'm not special than the next person. And then that's when you find that there's a lot of talking and people that talk and don't actually walk the walk. And of course, you don't judge them. You just realize that, okay, you're not vibrating on that frequency yet. You're not ready for this cycle or whatever. You just have to wait, because not all flowers don't blossom or bloom at the same time. So you just go there and keep moving with those on the right frequency and vibration. And yeah, so kind of like what you're saying is important, that you have to take the journey to find yourself. This is why you have to look inward and look inside yourself.
That's it.
And you're given clues in religion, because even in Islam, they will say, look into like the bosom of Allah. But they don't tell you you're the Allah. And where's your bosom?
Right. Yeah.
It's your bosom, right?
That's it. Yeah.
Looking into the bosom of Allah, you're looking at
externally.
And even like Jesus saying, the works that I do, you're going to be able to do greater works. So you're like, me?
Right.
I'm going to be able to what?
Right.
Reach people, heal people.
Right.
Wow. Levitate. Alchemy.
Right.
Transform stuff.
Right.
Yeah, you are. You are that being.
Yeah.
You can. And then you start to look at, oh, he was taught in Egypt.
Right.
He was raised in Egypt. Oh, not only him, but Moses as well.
Right.
And Abraham.
Right.
And everyone that is supposed to be on this level, close to God.
Right.
They're all raised in Egypt.
The Christ figures, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So then you realize gods raise gods, or supreme beings raise supreme beings.
Something of that fact.
And this is where the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York, is like, when you read that Bible and it says, God made you in his image and his likeness, and you realize, oh, right. So when you reach a certain point, you got to raise others to that point, because you keep growing and they keep growing, and then we're pulling each other along. Everyone's growing together.
Right. That's it.
And then it becomes a community and a unity, and you know, a thing about love and harmony and growing together. You see, so yeah, that's kind of like where you see the difference with those who are about raising others to be like themselves, as to those who want to hold information, act the part, you know, be like, I'm the one with information, you got to go through me to go to God. And that means that I'm better than you, and da-da-da-da-da. And
ego.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, damn.
The ego.
Necessary.
Yeah.
If you liaise with it and in tune with it, but if not, and it drives.
That's right. There's nothing wrong with having ego.
No.
But it's that ego in check, because it's energy on the go. So you have to control that energy, because it's so easy to think, da-da-da-da, we were here first, we built the pyramids.
Right.
Oh, we were Moses. We're all these people. Okay, cool. You're God? Yeah, I'm God? Cool.
Yeah.
All right, now do godly things. Now build, now, you know, take on the responsibility.
It was inherited, those things. They didn't know how to use them, so they broke them down. That's why they're buried and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's what I've foresee.
Yeah.
But I wasn't there.
Well, yeah, so, any questions, we can have a conversation and, just flow, each one teach us. If there's anything in particular about Wusabat or any questions you have, then I'll be happy to do my best.
Okay, the whole Gnostic idea, right? What does Wusabat say about that concept? What the Neo-Platonists believed. That whole demiurge business, and
Right.
Sophia, monad, birth, bellow.
Yeah.
What's Wusabat's version of that idea? Because
You see, the thing is, and I know what you mean. It's not like Wusabat has a version.
Sure.
It's like Wusabat is and was,
Yeah.
and all of these, you say, concepts came from it.
Yeah.
And many people came and borrowed. And even when you say philosophy, for example, because one of the things that we have to contend with, and it's a bit of a, I don't know, it's something that's holding humanity back. It's racism.
The old trick.
Yeah, because, I say that to say that we have we say no one wins the race in racism.
Yeah.
But when you look at, even like, I don't really watch lies visually, the television, but because there's a lot happening at the moment with the whole, Ukraine and Trump and Europe and all of that, I kind of caught something online and they were showing all the leaders, the European leaders, as they call them, that came to have a meeting.
Sit down.
Zelensky, the Ukraine.
And they kicked him out?
No, he came over to have a meeting because he had a little incident with Trump the other day.
That was laughable.
But my point, not to digress too much, is I'm looking at the faces of the world leaders, and I'm not seeing the representation of us. And then when you have any conversations where, whether it's technology or, anything that's going on in the world where you have a panel of people, I look and I'm like, we're not involved in this conversation.
Right.
But then I think to myself, but we are the most talented, because when you go back to the roots, like you were saying, go back to ancient Egypt, go back to the people that run civilizations and built the pyramids and did all these wonderful things.
Right.
The walls of Egypt tell the story that it's us. So how are we not included in these? Excluded. And now I'm saying, okay, this is a game. This is racism, because those panels will normally have Caucasians or Adamites that the best of them, when they start to quote who the greatest people they look up to, they are Greeks or Romans, like Plato,
right? Aristotle and Epictetus and all these dudes,
right?
Socrates. Who got it from?
They all were in Egypt.
Kemet,
in Kemet, right. So then I'm like, something's wrong here. Something is wrong here, because that means you're disenfranchising us, who can give a big input into things that will propel us as a humanity, human race forward.
Absolutely.
Because you need the best people. So how are you going to have all the world leaders, prime ministers, presidents, and everyone, that the biggest corporations, CEOs, all of that talking, and you don't consult us and don't represent
the
us?
Base.
It doesn't make any sense. So I'm going back to your question. I'm not forgetting that everyone came to Egypt and learned and studied, and we dealt with spirituality. We dealt with the universe. There was nothing left out. It's like, here you go to university to get 1 degree. Or maybe 3 degrees if you happen to go first degree, master's, maybe postgraduate or PhD or whatever, So that's the level, 3 degrees. And then you come to Europe and you're some guru.
Right.
But we knew a circle represents 360 degrees. Right? So you get 3 degrees at university and you're not taught anything about the universe.
I know.
So I'm like, okay, what, where's the rest of the degrees?
Nah, they ain't trying to give you that.
And they teach you that circle is completion. But then that's dealing with the physical world.
Right.
But there's another circle.
Right.
Which is the unseen world.
The ether, are you talking about?
360.
Yeah.
Another 360. We call that, let's say, the unseen world, or the things that people don't know.
Got you.
Right? So you got the physical world and you got the other world They don't know. You add
150.
them together, you get 720 degrees.
Right.
So really, to master the physical and the spiritual
Right.
is 720 degrees, which obviously add them together, you get 9. And then you're like, oh, that's why 9 is so important.
Right.
Because 9 is the highest number.
Right.
9 to the 9th power of 9.
That's it,
Meaning
yeah.
no limit in
That's
terms
it.
of your knowledge and your information. This is what our ancestors had in Egypt. And so you start to get the Gnostic Gospels and the stories of the Kabbalah and the this one and the that. All goes back
To Egypt.
to Egypt.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then we like, where did these people in Egypt come from? Because, okay,
Yeah.
they're all these magical beings. Like,
Sure.
They tell you they came from the stars.
Sure.
So now I'm like, whoa, like I knew there was more. When I was a child staring into the stars, a lot of the times I used to be looking at the Orion star constellation for some reason.
Okay.
Look how many stars are up there.
Right.
There must be other beings out there, you know?
Absolutely.
But it was our ancestors. It's the connection we have to them. So we realize, okay, so we're not just dealing with one little planet. We start to go into, okay, there's a solar system. Just one, but billions. How did they all come about? And if there's life on this planet,
then it keeps going.
It reasons out.
Keeps going.
Because your mind reasons. It keeps going and going and going. So you find out that the ancient Egyptians, we have to distinguish ancient because there are modern Egyptians.
Yes.
And there's like modern languages.
Yes.
And modern Hebrew.
Yes.
And modern Greek.
Right.
And modern this and modern that. Like,
yeah.
okay, this is modern. So that means somebody came up with this.
Yeah.
What was
prior?
before, pre-dynastic.
Right.
Prehistoric. Prehistory. Prehistory.
Ooh, yes.
Now I'm like, okay, so we have our own story.
Right.
I'm like, what's our story?
Okay.
Oh, it's a mystery. Oh, my story is a mystery, and your story
is all there.
Is your story, his story.
Right.
So who are these people?
Right.
So we start to delve more into our ancestors. They tell you the Egyptians, they came from Orion, and this is why. People say, oh, how did we build the pyramids? And you have every European trying to decipher the mathematics.
Right.
And they're like, oh, it was this, it was that. Huge stones that nobody can carry.
Right.
But that's not the problem. The problem is, how do they perfectly align with the Orion star constellation?
That don't make sense.
So this is what I'm saying. So then your mind, which is limitless, opens up to, okay, it's not just the planet, it's not just the solar system, it's not just the galaxy, it's not one universe. There are many universes, omniverses, multiverses, omniverse. So now you're thinking, whoa, that's the level that you're dealing with. And then religion is like, 6,000 years. It's like it's like, what is that? Just tiny in the realm of time. Islam's 1,400 years old. Christianity is 2,000 years old.
Right.
And the 2,000-year-old one tries to not recognize the Old Testament, which is the 4,000-year-old one.
Right.
But all of that is 6,000 years old.
Yeah.
Then you go into the realm of scientists, archaeologists, anthropologists, and people that actually take time to study things. They're telling you, we've discovered or uncovered this. This is 3.4 million years old. This is 6 million years old. This is, and you're telling me God started everything within 6,000 years. Come on now.
That is arrogance, ignorance.
That's what I'm talking about. Arrogance. And then like,
all of that.
Then they hide all the dark skin and the black ones, and it's all whitewashed, and it's all. So then you're like, so that's racism.
Yeah. Okay.
Racism that doesn't help anyone.
No.
Because don't we want to get the best energy that's free for everybody? Don't we want to get food to feed the whole world? Don't we want to have peace in the world? And our ancestors lived like this. Yeah. Yeah. So to go back to your question, we know that everything is taken from our stuff, and now it's like we're putting back the puzzles, like putting everything back in the rightful place, and then all that confusion just goes, and you're not under this stress of lies and fabrications and distortions and people trying to pull the wool over your eyes when you can feel and know within your DNA, you know stuff, you know, and then you start to realize, oh, these are who they were calling the gods, and they had powers, you know, they could communicate mind to mind, telepathy. They could psychometry, touch something and know everything about it or feel.
Right.
You know what I mean? Intuition, we just know things. You know what I mean? You start to realize, wow, like I am actually a supreme being. And you've been dumbed down and brought down to the level where you started to even doubt yourself, you know, your powers and what you're capable of, what you can do. And our ancestors are like, no, it's time for the sleeping god to wake up.
Why though? Like why now?
Good question. Because it's cycles. Things happen in cycles.
24,000, right?
24,000 year cycles,
Okay.
a sun cycle. Every 24,000 years,
Right.
we have to renew our history.
Gotcha.
And not only that, this particular 24,000 year cycle is the end where the Adamites who were created, or made, shall I say,
Fashion and all that.
right, their time was up in the year 2000 because they were only allotted 6,000 years.
Right.
And that 6,000 years was to see if they could reform and change from their nature and their ways. And obviously, like I said, because when you look at time is kind of there's man-made time and there's natural time.
Right.
Because what people call time is very limiting
Right.
to the motion of the planet around the sun.
Yeah.
So that even discovering that or recovering that, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
So if I'm outside of the planet, I'm
Right.
not governed by this time. So
Right.
then the concept of me getting old and aging and dying
Is outside of that realm.
Outside of that realm completely.
So
it's like, so you realize our ancestors have been here for millennia. Yeah, and they've grown and evolved, and they are at a different stage now to the point where they're using all of their brain power, and we're using less than 10%. So it's like, just like discovering the vastness of space and the omniverse, it's like discovering the vastness
of the inside of your
being.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, like
self-discovery is a whole different thing, isn't it?
It's like, whoa. So if I could use more of my brain, and then you start to realize, oh, there were some beings that messed with us to make you forget who you are, throw you off, and look to this direction, or look to that direction, and you're only gonna live for 120 years. And like
physically anyway.
Yeah, physically. Everything is just like distorted.
Right.
And now you're starting to remember. And then you're like, oh, you're the waking God. So like 24,000 years.
Right.
The moon cycle, that's the last 6,000 years of the 24,000 years, ended in the year 2000.
Okay.
So now it's a renewal. It's the planet Earth renewing. It's the galaxy renewing. And it's not like, do you know what I mean? Like, no matter what you do, you can't stop it because it's natural nature. And the word nature ties back to Natiru, which is the ancestors in ancient Egypt.
Right.
Which the ones from the stars, is Natharu.
Right.
So they're the ones that have set all this in motion.
Right.
So it was already planned. Right. So as a being that's been around for millions and millions of years, and one of them, who most people are familiar with, is Tahuti, who wrote the Emerald Tablets, which you came across. Right? When you read these things, you're like, wow, Tahuti's talking about things that you're just blown away. Do you know what I mean? And
it was current somehow.
But it's current because the time is only now.
Yeah.
The real time is now.
Yeah.
It's always now.
Right.
And he's always been here now, but in different...
Like Mr. Manhattan type thing.
Exactly. So the same being has been here throughout, written so many different books and certain different cultures, and people say he's reincarnating.
Different avatars, right?
There you go.
Yeah, like Enoch, Hermes, Krishna, maybe Christ. Yeah, that's Enoch.
Yeah, because when you get to that level, you all become one.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, these are a council of beings known as the 24 elders.
Right.
In the Bible, they say you got these beings around the throne of the Most High, and so on and so forth. So you're becoming one mind.
Right.
But like you say, each one holds a seat, and it's like, when you look at the 24,000 years, 24 elders, 24 hours in the day, 24,000 miles in terms of, it's all linked
TikTok. Yeah. It's all TikTok, isn't it?
And then they come out with an app called TikTok.
Yeah, I call it TikTok.
Yeah, because programming again.
Yeah.
programming at a level
Yeah.
where your attention span
Yeah.
is tiny.
It's shortened.
Very short.
Yeah, it's from the year 2000,
Yeah.
it went from 12 seconds to 8.
Right.
That's scary.
It's very scary because what it is what used to be an hour,
Yeah.
the time got sped up
Yeah.
to where it's like 15 minutes. So people don't realize they're stressed. They're constantly running because you're trying to fit things into this fictitious time.
Right.
But when you come out of that and you're in natural time, or like you go back to nature, things happen in nature when they happen.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, it's got 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
the White Rabbit in Alice. I'm late.
Yeah. So then they start messing with your mind with all these movies, but there's always the polarity of good and bad,
Yeah.
true, false. You know, that's like the switch between the two. The
It's
tick on
always
the dot.
there. It's always
It's
there.
always there.
It's always there. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
so-
have to have it.
Right.
You
So
have to
then you
have
have to remember that for every distortion,
Right.
the reality is
Harmony.
there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And you've got to like decide, okay, it's about balance.
Absolutely.
It's not about
No. Yeah. No. It's
like a robot running.
Yeah. It's straight in the middle.
Programming,
Yeah.
if you go into real deep like coding,
Yeah.
it's based on binary, zeros and ones.
Zeros and ones.
Machine code. Like,
Yeah.
It's two states.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they don't tell you about the middle state, and that's where the clock tick tock, and then the content and everything in that app, like you say, is getting shorter and shorter. So it's a distraction,
Right.
because you're agitated all the time.
Yeah. I remember you.
Yeah, so you start
mentioned
scrolling. You're taking all this knowledge, but you're not really discerning it, absorbing it, and it's not real because it's just like snippets.
Yeah.
It's like rap, when rap became rap. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're just taking little samples of the whole song.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
there was a song, say James Brown did.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
get on up,
Get on up.
You're really,
Yeah.
for 12 minutes.
Right.
And now you're just taking a little sample,
Yeah, just
and
like,
looping it over and over.
That's it.
And that's all you're
And then
getting.
it'll be advertising something else. Yeah.
So
That's wild. Like from even me to be speaking to people that were older than me, and they were saying to me, "Oh, this stuff the stuff you're listening to now is remix and blah blah blah."
Yeah.
I mean, like the old stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you're old.
Yeah.
Now I got to that age, and I'm like hearing this, and I'm like, wait, now I'm old. And I'm repeating the same thing because you start hearing this thing looping.
that's right.
You know?
and it's nothing
Fashion,
new.
music, films, so on.
Just a loop.
Yeah, cycles.
And everything's a loop. It's
Yeah.
like, and then you say to yourself, how do I get out of this loop?
Observe.
That's right. Because you have to be like I keep saying, you can only go around the roundabout
Yeah.
so many times before
Right.
you have to take an exit.
Yeah.
Or you're going to run out of petrol. And
Right.
then you're just going to
Break down.
Yeah, and then you're going to stop everybody else. And so you have to like take a moment and realize that, yeah, it's our time. It's a new day and time.
Right.
And the old stuff's got to go. Like, you have to start. It's a new paradigm. It's a dimensional shift, energy shift, consciousness shift. And it can be a lot for people who have been taught and given a story that's pretty much fictitious. You know, you're born, you go to school, and then you're trapped in this 1, 2, 3 ABC. You know, morning, afternoon, and night.
Right.
Breakfast, lunch, supper. It's like people, places, and things.
Yeah.
Like, but my mind can't seem to get out of these people, places, and things.
Yeah,
But you
yeah,
can, but you're caught up in that loop, you know?
See have you ever seen the Truman Show?
Yes, I have one of my favorite shows.
That is it's an allegory for the cave, isn't it? Like Plato's cave, so is Matrix and so on.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's just that aware. You have to get to that level of awareness,
Yes.
to realize that okay, that's a movie, and he's having his awareness moment, and I'm also having my. Wait, this is, and then you start to think, like
Fractals.
all of those things.
Yeah.
That's I think that one's overlooked as a aha movie.
Yeah.
Normally, it's mainly Matrix.
We have a list of movies on
The
on
aha
the website.
movies.
Yeah. That, literally, man, like, and these movies you have to remember who's behind them, who's making them, who's putting them together, and why. Of course, going back to the agreeable and disagreeable, or the duality thing, is that you have extraterrestrials that are also agreeable or disagreeable,
Right.
and they are the ones pulling the strings and
Right.
what people call inspiration.
Right.
They download into you.
The outformation, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And not all of them are agreeable. So
Right.
they have their motives, and some of them want to control humanity. They want to take over the planet. You are an energy source for them.
Yeah.
So you are like food for them. So now you start to look at you and look at an ant, and then you go deeper and deeper, and you're like, there's some tiny life forms on this planet that share this planet.
Right.
But when you zoom outwards,
Yeah.
like a magnifying glass, we are a tiny, tiny little ant in a tiny, tiny little planet.
Yeah.
So then everything is like, wow, you get into quantum.
Oh yeah, because then it's like the more you go in, the bigger it actually gets.
Right.
That's the reverse, isn't it?
There you go. So there's always the expansion and contraction.
Yeah.
In and out, pulsation,
That's
movement.
it. That's it.
That's why we're alive. That's why we're vibrating.
Yeah.
And that goes into sounds, tones, frequencies, and then language.
Right.
Because the language,
Yes. The
is
tone,
tones,
spelling,
the
and
spelling, the vibration that
Yes.
keeps people in this hypnotic spell.
on that note, right? What would you say is the best word to call? I mean, for the longest time, I've just been calling people brothers and sisters that are darker skinned, because I don't like people using the word black all the time, because I always feel like that was a word that was given or labeled when the Westerners came, and they were just like, well, let's make a distinction. Well, they are this, and that was it.
Right.
And we've just been using this word, and I'm like, it used to give me the ick at some point. I was like, no. I'm not a color.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not a color.
I'm not a number.
I'm not a color.
But yeah.
So yeah, what's your take on that?
Okay, this is where Wusabat steps in.
Yes.
And answers
What's
questions,
that then?
because
Yes.
the master teacher, Pana Babyanun, has been sent by the forces of nature, or chosen by the forces of nature, to bring in this new cycle.
Okay.
And with that means that you have to relearn everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And learn what others took from us.
Yes.
So that's where the culture comes in,
Yeah.
Wusabat.
Yeah.
Because Wusabat has a language,
right,
where we use those right tones, those right vibrations, and those frequencies. So those who are catching up, we may use what they're familiar with, because even when we talk about black, when we're referred to as black, because there's a lot of technology going on, it's not referring to you as a color. What they do know is that everything started from darkness, supreme balance.
Kemet.
Right. Even before that, I'm talking about like the birth of the universe, before there was light. Because in all the religious books, they tell you God, Allah, whatever, he said, let there be light. Or he is the light of the heavens and earth. But you're like, wait a minute, but light is confined. It has a speed. It travels at a speed, and that's the fastest it can travel. And that, no matter how fast that is traveling, there's still darkness all around it, and it cannot escape the darkness.
Right.
So that means that light was set in motion at a particular point.
Right.
So then, when we're being referred to as black, it's dealing with that state of balance, or
Source, almost, isn't it?
Source before there was light.
Right.
And so that's the piece we're trying to get back to.
Yeah.
All right. So and when they say white, because we say to people, we're not black, and there's no such thing as black, and there's no such thing as white.
Right.
When they say white, again, you're dealing with the spectrum from dark to the lightest.
Sure.
Which, this is what I'm saying about.
Yeah, because you...
And it's the absence of color.
Yeah.
So it's, when you go from 9 ether, you go to 6 ether, which is the death of 9 ether.
Okay.
And then the death of 6 ether is ghost.
Oh.
So when you get to ghost, you're no longer there.
Oh, not even spectral.
That's what I'm trying to say here, how it correlates, that you're going from dark to what they're calling white.
Got you.
But it's really the spectrum of going from one stage or energy to the other stage, and then it's a cycle, because the death of ghost, then you go back to night
Right.
and ether.
Back to the tree.
So when you're looking at that in the manifestation of people or races on the planet, you're looking at a black man. If you're looking at a brown germ, that becomes, you know, the brown, the red, then the white. Then you go into, like you said, the spectrum of light and the spectrum of when you take light, and because remember, all colors combine is black.
Yeah.
You take that, put it through a prism,
Right.
then you get the different rays of
Yeah.
colors,
Yeah.
which is different states of vibration.
Right.
And then you can see like, okay, everything comes from black.
Yeah.
So really, black in that sense is not a color, but they will
Yeah,
tell you
yeah.
that this is black
Got you.
when you're being taught colors. But everything you see around you is a mood, it's a vibration.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is brown, this is black.
Right.
You can't teach me as a child in nursery or primary school that this is white, this is brown, this is black, and then confuse me and say, this is white people, and this is black people. And you look at them, you're like, white people don't look like this white.
Right.
Black people don't look like this black.
Right.
So of course there's technology. So yeah, we're going back to the stage of
Language, man.
Yeah, the language is it's a confusion because they tell you that spells are cast through spellings because you hearing words, but then when you say, okay, who made up that word? Who put it together? What does it mean? So you go into the science of etymology, you go into the so Wusabat, in Wusabat we use the word, so we would say Nuwapian.
Right.
Nuwapian became watered down to from newborns to Nubian.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then today, you know, people that didn't know, didn't understand,
Right.
they just say, oh, you're black.
Oh,
But what we would call ourselves is Nuwapian.
Okay.
Or Sabian.
Okay.
But obviously, because of the divisions of religion and so forth,
right,
everyone's going to be like, no, I'm not. I'm a Christian. I'm a Muslim. I'm a Jew. I'm Jamaican. I'm Trinidadian. I'm Ghanaian. I'm Nigerian. No, you're not. That's labels that people have labeled you based on either a situation, a location, or an action that you've taken on. Like, what makes you like African American?
This label.
It's just a label.
It's a category.
Yeah. So then you have to go, okay, what was I before the labels? Your DNA.
Right.
Your what you're composed of, what you're made from.
Yeah.
That's what you are.
Okay.
Because I've said to people many times that have this argument, oh, I'm not African. Oh, I'm not. I'm like, okay, if you were on a plane, you're in the middle of the ocean, and your mother gave birth to you on the plane in the middle of the ocean, where are you going to say you come from? They can't answer the question. Yeah, because
the whole lot of shoulder.
But if you're born in America, you say, "Oh, I'm American."
Right.
Born in the UK or London, oh, I come from the, you know.
But yeah, I think it's a lot of wanting to be part of something, isn't it? You know, it's that conformity business.
Yeah, but listen to that. You're already part of something,
which is part of the mask, isn't it? Because you feel that you're not part of something, so you got to be part of something.
Right. And then the word, look at the word alone. When you look at the word alone, it gives the illusion that you're by yourself.
Right.
But when you take out the one, O-N-E, and the A-L, which literally spells all.
Right.
So we're all one.
There you go.
But you would say, I'm alone.
Right.
No, you're not. You can't be alone because everything connects to
everything.
everything else, and it's all dealing with different levels of vibrations.
Right.
And those who are vibrating on a particular frequency are going to resonate.
Right.
And those who are lower. So it's all about the energy and the vibration and what level you're at and whether or not you want to raise your consciousness, your vibration, your energy, or you want to go the other way.
Right.
Either way, you know, that's that cycle again where, and this is the science of a pyramid that we built because we understood and knew that the principles of, okay, you have duality on the 3-dimensional world. It's 3D because everything, I said, people, places and things, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, morning, afternoon, you can go on and on and on and see like you're caught up in this 3, but between the two, there's a middle point.
And then you get the
pyramid.
perfect structure.
Right.
Yeah.
That's if you're looking at it with 3D. But now, as above, so below, right? So you reflect that pyramid. Now you have one above and one below.
Right.
You get the 4 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got that going on.
And then you have that middle point.
Yeah.
So you now start to look at, okay, 3D, then you go into a cube.
Yeah.
Then you start to see it's not flat now.
Right.
Where I was just looking at, we say,
Sides, right?
yeah, you could turn it that way. Let's say it's just a square then.
Yeah.
But now there's that square.
Yeah.
But there's one that side, one that side, one at the bottom, one at the top. And then like in the middle, you can go in and out.
Right.
And then now you start putting another one on top of that.
Right.
And another one on top, and another one to the side, and another one to the side, and you start to see. What did you say about Metric Cube? And
the tetrahedron or the
tesseract
tesseract or the whatnot? You mean?
Yeah, you
right.
start looking at these objects because you're dealing with mathematics,
right?
And you go into a point where, like, there's so many levels.
The polymath stuff, no? Is it polymath?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you start to see the different dimensions and different shapes.
Yes.
And what I'm basically saying, you start to see that there are more dimensions than you're aware of.
Yeah.
Well, the physical anyway.
Yes.
In the 3-dimension. But then I did a video called From 3D to 9D anyway, which deals with 9 being the highest number.
Right.
And that you have these 9 levels or 9 states.
Right.
And even in the periodic table, when you start to go from the physical world to the other side, the ether world, as you were just mentioning, you've got 9 levels of ether going into etheric. But you have to think about each level is 9 to the 9th power of 9. So there are no limitations to what we can achieve as the original supreme beings on the planet. So we're at that time again now where, going back to what I was saying about the panels and the disenfranchising of our people not being recognized, we're kind of like made to feel like we're only recognized for being sports people, entertainers, musicians. Yeah. I'm not saying we're not good at that stuff, but when it comes to
intellect,
intel,
right,
in the genes,
right.
Intelligence,
intelligence,
intelligence, because that's where the intel is written, and that intel makes you realize that you're a holographic computer and you're being programmed in real time with the energy that's coming from the sun, the rays of the sun.
Does that go into the Adinkra codes?
Yes.
Those and the Dogon.
The Dogon, because it goes to 9 ether or natural ether energy, which is a source that you have to tap into and make it work for you and through you.
That's through meditation or channeling or
through everything.
Okay.
But yeah, those are the higher levels that we were talking about when you're tapping into your higher senses.
Right.
So to discipline yourself, you have to first start to look inwards.
Yeah.
Cut out the noise.
Yeah.
Not control the mind, but work with the mind to silence it.
Right.
To then start to apply that energy.
Yeah.
To better use, because your mind, or people say your brain, but your brain is just a physical aspect of it. But you're really dealing with an energy, the electricity, frequencies that
receiving the info. Yeah.
So you're gonna start to utilize that energy in a much better way, because whatever you're gonna do physically by way of your actions, has to first start with your mental
and etherically and astrally and whatnot. Exactly. And start feeling it and dreaming that you're doing what you're doing, and then you
bringing it to
put it
manifestation.
Form
it literally.
Formless into form.
There you go. That's what we're talking
it's powerful
about.
stuff.
It's very powerful stuff. But if you're not aware of it, someone else is using it.
That's true.
Literally, someone else is
the one this goes off.
Go here, do this, follow this, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all these distractions to the point where, like you say, calming the mind down, working with it to learn it, to then learn yourself, and then tap into the higher powers and the source, and then you work your way to being one with source. So you're moving like
up the pyramid, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because you wear the mask of God when you get to the top of the pyramid.
There you go.
Yeah.
Which is just
the responsibility, the being who you are, and now you got to help others get there. You see, and that's where like we were saying at the beginning, that's where the work comes in. You
The
know?
great work, they call it, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Ancients call it the great work.
Yeah, it's called the
What's the other term?
grand architect of the universe.
That is delicious. That's what I'm working towards.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Being the
what
grand architect of my own universe.
There you go.
Yeah.
First. Yeah.
That's
Because
it.
you are a universe.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I'm a universe.
That's it.
When we're together,
one planet,
dual
8 billion universes. It's crazy.
Exactly. And it gets to a point where you can't count them. And this is where the term omniverse comes in.
Right.
Because 1 is 2, 3 is triverse. You can go on and say 4 quadverse, and then it gets to a point where you say multi. There's so many multiverse.
Yeah.
And then the multiverses just get to a point where they say infinity and you say omniverse. But no matter how far you go in the 3D dimension, there's still more to go, because you have to graduate. You have to be worthy to receive,
access that. Yeah.
to access the Akasha records.
Oh yes, those.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Those. Yeah. I knew we'd get there at some point. That place. Okay. So what's? How does one access that? That's a matter of just communing with yourself.
It's like anything else. The first step is turn it on.
Right.
It's like the light. The light switch is there, right?
Yeah.
And without you turning on that light switch, you're not going to get the light. The 0s and 1 again. So you've got to turn one state to the other.
Right.
So you're already connected to everything anyway. You're just not. Someone's turned the switch off.
Okay.
And you didn't realize it's been turned off.
Yeah.
And when you come across Wusabat, or like you did, go on a journey of consciousness, something's going to turn it on.
Yeah.
And that light we're talking about is inside of you. It's called the solar plexus.
Right. Yeah.
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 So you got to switch it on.
Right.
It's there. Someone may have turned it off, or it's dim.
Right.
Because you're not enhancing it. So you say, this little light of mine.
Right.
And then, like, I'm going to make it shine.
Right.
There's a song.
Yeah. I
let it shine, let it shine.
Yeah.
So this is what the master teacher, being a supreme being, does. He comes and he, like that moment we spoke about, that's called a DNA explosion. Because literally, biologically, chemically, DNA explosions took place in you when you listened or heard or got that moment. Your DNA exploded, and it sends messages throughout your being to your brain, and then and then you now boom, third eye's open, you're connected, and you're now like, whoo, that might be that moment where you took that. Do you know what I mean? Because that reacts with something called the hippocampus region of your brain.
Right.
And this is the bit that deals with what people call hallucinations, and because it was maimed, like when your barotheric gland was removed, and so now it's like you have the ability, you're there, but that light has to be switched on. Right. So when the master teacher comes along, he turns you back on, and you're like, whew. So anybody can wake up at any time.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. So you can just meet someone, have a conversation with them, like you said, or you're vibrating on a particular frequency.
Right.
And remember, when you're looking at these screens, whether it's your mobile phone or the TV, or, you know what I mean, like a monitor, that's light that's being sent to your eyes.
Yeah, information.
Yeah, information.
Cerebral cortex. Like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So then a frequency of light is sent to you. It's tapped in, and then you wake up, and it starts to connect your major organs and your heart seat. Right. The heart seat deals with compassion, care, love.
That's the earth.
Responsibility for sentient beings. Right. Then you're a different being now. You start to look at the world differently. You start to get away from the selfishness, me, myself, and I, capitalism, and all of that kind of, and then you start to look at everything and everyone from a divine perspective of,
oneness,
cause and effect.
Right, causality.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is where Tahuti starts to take you to those higher levels.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. But you know, when you're talking about the heart stuff, I think probably one other thing that happened before was it was I was told about listening to frequency and meditation. I'd never done any of this stuff. I did it one time, sat in the bathtub, and I was like, nah, this isn't happening for me. And it was only when there was a bit of a run around with some things.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's just see what this does. And I sat there for 15 minutes and listened to this lady talk about whatever, dimmed the lights down and had my salt lamp on, like real low. Sat down and she was talking. And at some point I felt this charge of energy in the middle of my chest. And I was thinking to myself, am I having a heart attack? Okay, no. And it felt like an adrenaline rush. Like you're playing football, you're playing a sport, and you're ready to, but I'm chilled and I'm relaxed. And I was thinking, what? And then it was done. And after that, I felt like this immense energy in my chest. And for maybe 5-6 months later, every morning I woke up, I had this, and I couldn't understand what it was.
Yeah.
And when I went back to look at the doohickey, the frequency was of heart chakra opening.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
Yep.
Was my
And
shit
this is
closed?
why, nothing you do, if it's not coming from the heart, that's why everybody relates to it as love, right?
Yeah.
But then the counteraction, as I said, they always play with you. They make love into lust and all of this kind of stuff. So if you ain't seen the Valentine's video, you need to watch that.
Oh,
about the heart.
That was
right?
that was serious.
But the heart seat is a major organ.
Yeah.
Because it pumps the blood to the body and you know the electrical signals, that the energy that's sent around your body and these frequencies that you're picking up. But then when that's on, then your brain's on, and then you start to look at the importance of your major organs.
Right.
Your lungs, your liver, and how they all work together and how they play a part. So you were right that whole thing called the chakras, they teach you about the seats, which actually align with the glands.
Yes.
So we talk about the pituitary, the pineal gland, right?
Yes.
But what they don't teach you is you have, as a Nagaru, or what we call a Negroid, for simplicity, has
Wait,
9.
Hold on. So Nubian is because that's the word I was using. That's close, right?
Yeah.
To what you were saying.
Nuapian.
I wasn't that far.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. That's what became Nubian, and everyone made Nubian popular. You had music with like the
Nubian,
brown Nubian.
Right. Oh yeah, brown Nubian. Yeah.
So I mean,
Well, I think that's
that
better
was
than
because Partner Babylon, Dr. Malachi Z. York had a recording studio, and a lot of artists recorded there, and he was drop knowledge, and then you started to hear a lot of the rappers were going out, you know, your Nas and Jay-Z and Jazzo and Prodigy and name them, they all got a piece, and it came through. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, so
okay.
Yeah, so he was known as Dr. York in the music business as well, you know.
Got you.
But yeah, so those chakras, those seats, are when you're turning them on. They even show you the colors, with the red being the one that is the lowest. The root chakra deals with lust,
materialism and survival.
Exactly. And as you move up, you're going to what people say the purple or the violet, which is, and then it goes out. You have 2 more above your head.
The ninth,
because when people get into all of that, they might go into Buddhism or Hinduism, and these are beings that deal with transcendental meditation, and they start to go into that esoteric knowledge. But even then, like, they always like, where's the Negroid or the black one? Because you end up with Hinduism, and then you end up with, like I said, Buddhism. But then, because people didn't realize Wusabat, so when you now realize, oh, that's why they all stop at 7, the 7 chakras. But we are 9 ether, so we go all the way to 9. And so when you realize, okay, so now you know there's more to go, and you don't just stop at Buddhism, because people they say, oh, black people, we're not together, we don't work together. It's like everyone's forgotten who they are. They don't know what their spirituality is. They don't know what their language is. They talk about slavery.
It's true.
And it's like, no. 24,000 years, new cycle. Wake up. This is who you are. You can come together. You can work together. You can love each other. All these other behaviors you've been taught by programming and learned programming by people that don't like you or are
Yeah.
adverse to you or don't want you to remember who you are and become who you're supposed to be.
That's it.
Yeah. So we're here to stop all that.
Yeah, that is work, man.
Yeah.
That is the good work.
The good
That-
work,
that is
and
the good work.
everyone's got to get involved and help and teach, because it's not just. That's why I said we're not racist. We deal with humanity.
Yeah,
We deal with language that transcends people, places, and things.
that's it.
And we deal with, like we said, ashuk, which is divine love.
Right.
Yeah. But the thing is, when change comes, in any situation, it could be in an organization, a business, or whatever, people try to resist, and they're comfortable with where they've been at all the time. You know, it's like, no, you got to change. You got to evolve. You know, you're not designed to just be stagnant and just remain on one gear. You can't drive a car stuck on one gear. You got to shift gears. You got to keep moving, and it's a learning from cradle to grave. And
You know it.
as a being, then you start to go outside the physical. As a being, you know, you got other realms and other experiences.
You have to do it. You have to. It's all about
elevation
and inner discovery, which is not like they a lot of the books that people, the billions follow and you know, they make trillions from it. They don't go in, like cause like I said to you, I write some things here and there.
Yeah.
And I wrote some things about how they gloss over the okay, first of all, how can we are all emotionally and spiritually and mentally, these are what make up every and any being in front of you, right? And they are unseen elements. But in these texts, they don't talk about them. They don't highlight the what's underneath the engine. They just polish the car.
Yes.
Right? And you get in, you do your business, your car's polished, but the engine's not fine-tuned, so you don't know about what drives the engine. It's not talked, it's not...
They don't know.
No, it's exoterically talked about. But not esoterically...
Can't go into the details and the...
Given.
Right, so again, you said the word car. Ka'a, in ancient Egypt, in our language, is spirit.
Vessel, right?
Ba'a, or ba, is soul. But then we know there's akh, which is ether.
Right.
That's the bit that scientists are starting to delve into, because they're like, what is stopping light traveling faster than 186,272 feet per second?
Right.
Roughly. Okay. What is stopping that? Why is there a limit on the speed of light?
Right.
They don't know. It's because it's ether. Ether is what's holding everything together, and it's what's giving the speed of light that limitation. You see, so people that don't know how to have that light within you to travel interdimensionally, intergalactically, you know, they're making, you know, progress now with a lot of the rockets they're trying to launch, but they don't realize that there are beings that govern and quarantine beings on this planet, and the only way you can get past the speed of light or get out of here is through portals, is through gates, vortexes, and do you know what I mean? So they make movies like
Stargate and all that.
Stargate.
Yeah.
No, it's entertainment.
Satirize the thing. Yeah.
You know, but this is telling you that there are other worlds and other dimensions and other beings that are far more advanced, technologically advanced than we are. And this is a beautiful day and time we're living in, because it's referred to as the great and dreadful day of the Lord, because it literally means that it's great for some people and it's going to be dreadful for others, because it's a matter of, are you willing to do that work and make that transformation, make that change, or die with the old dying world? And this has happened time and time again, whether it was mainly through floods, where there were many floods and things were wiped out.
How many were there? There's more than...
Oh, there's many.
Tons,
right?
Right?
The thing about the floods is, again, with a religious mindset, you're taught that
this is one, right?
Like it's one, and it was the entire planet.
Right.
Right. It was never like that.
Okay.
It was like we have today, tsunami. You heard a tsunami in this place, and a lot of people died, and that was it. But so you start off with the books. They're telling you at the beginning that everything was underwater. So that was a flood.
Right.
And there were beings that lived underwater.
Right. The amphibious ones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, and that was in that part of the world called the Mesopotamia. In fact, we just dropped a video called The Flood.
I saw that.
That explains this. And
Wait, did you go into Atlantis at all? Or is that...
No, we got another one coming called Atlantis, which is just on Atlantis. But this is what we're saying. That
go on.
We go into the details about everything because we're in a day and time now where it's like truth is the currency. Everything must be made clear, and we are those teachers that, as I said, we are prehistoric, or we are a mystery to everyone else, and we have the keys and the knowledge, and that's passed down from generation to generation by this being that keeps reincarnating. And so he's here now, he's with us, he's teaching us, and anyone who's willing to learn and humble themselves enough to be taught, just like everyone that went to Egypt to be taught and sat, humbly with him, and he shared certain information and gave people bits and pieces, like Moses, or who they call Moses. You're talking about Moses or Ramesses. And when you're saying Tahuti taught him, you're saying Tahutimus. You see, because he was a student of Tahuti. Yeah, most of these people were taught by
from both. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's who the Greeks referred to him as, or Hermes, and the same being.
Got you.
Yeah,
got you.
So it's here again, and as much as some people deny it, we say truth is truth. You can't.
How do they deny it? They just.
Well, there are people that tell you. Oh, it's like looking at us talking now. Like, oh, they can't know all of this scientific information.
Gotcha. Imagine.
You know what I mean?
It's like Elon Musk.
Yeah, it's like, come on now, like, this is our information.
Yeah.
And the elders actually originally were trying to use what people call rap today, for those guys to get it out quickly. Because they were like, these guys are spitting at this. But I don't call it spitting, by the way, because that's a bad habit. I got some lyrics I wrote, actually. Like,
oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Go on, then.
Nah, it's just that line. Every time I say that, I say I'm not a rapper, I'm a lyricist.
Right.
I've been here since the beginning, before Genesis.
Yes.
I don't spit because that's a bad habit.
Yeah.
I know it goes. But
you're gonna drop one of them in the videos at some point.
Hey, maybe I do music. I have recordings.
You were saying,
yeah. But so they were supposed to use that tool to get the information out.
Okay.
But as usual, it got messed up because the children of fire come in, because you got
and then the
star children, the golden children. So they mixed it all up, and then it became gangster rap, and then it just evolved into this thing where people think it's okay to carry 9mm and go and, do you know what I mean? Like gang wars and all of this.
It's the image. It's because it sells, isn't it? Right. That's
image. Exactly. You look at what sells, because then money got thrown into it.
Yeah.
And money comes from the word monet, which is, again, going back to the Greek, it's a god of sarcasm, which deals with pain. Yeah, like literally, like, research the stuff.
Wow.
We tell you, don't believe us.
Monet.
Yeah.
Pain god. Yes.
Yeah.
But what I was looking at was that all of the Greek gods and the planets
they're superimposed, like Jupiter, and is that what you're talking about?
That and the elements of your emotions.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
If she was, what was she? Was the goddess of pain and sarcasm?
God of pain. That's right.
So she's the personality, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you start to look and break it
yeah.
Okay, these are actually like you're giving energies and calling on names of beings,
right?
That are giving you
personifications of energy. Yeah. I saw that.
So when you're saying Jesus, you're saying Jah and Zeus.
Right.
Jah, Zeus.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Again,
I heard
that
about
ties into Zeus. And you just keep going and you're like, okay. These are the entities that you're calling on.
Yeah.
Not even realizing this goes back to the power of language.
Names. Oh, right.
Yeah. Names are tones.
Right.
And they mean something. So you're calling on this name, God. You're like, Gad. Go and look at that.
Right.
It's like
Good, right?
demon.
Shad.
Yeah. Shad.
Gad.
Yeah, because it goes to Shad and Gad. It's like the god of, it's a demon.
Right.
And you're calling on these tones and you're not knowing what you're calling on. So now you have to reverse everything and start calling on your ancestors, calling on the right tones
to guide you,
and then you're pulling on that energy, and then they will help you. But you've got your immediate ancestors as well, like going back 4 generations, and not all of them are agreeable. You've got agreeable and disagreeable within your matrix.
Sure.
So you have to learn which ones you're gonna align and call on through epigenetics and something called quantum entanglement.
Right. Yeah.
Which is literally like, no matter the distance, or the size, you're connected. Yeah. And you can affect each other
from one point or the other, regardless of where they are in space, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Or in time.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's
space, matter, and time.
Yeah.
Work together in unison, unity, and you can't separate them.
That's it. So then, okay. So then what, the God that most people, or the masses, let's say the Christians and so on, because, I'll just use the Gnostic story because it's easiest to get to. The whole demiurge business, right? Or the prison planet concept. Tell me about that.
Yeah, because these are beings that you go back to. So when you're saying the God, remember, even the word, that's what I say, you're using the word God, but it's like, what's the origin of that word? It goes back to German, Gott, or to the Gad, as I was saying before. Which is like, okay, who is that? And in the Bible, even though the words are translated throughout as God, God, it's distortion because each word that is saying God, when you look at the Hebrew in the Old Testament, it's going to be like Elohim, Yahweh, Adonai, different names. And like, but they're different people or different characters. And it's like, so it's one is telling you to do this and another one is telling you to do something that's contrary or contradicts what the other one's saying. So you're thinking, this one wants to wipe everyone out, drown people, kill people, and this other one is saying something else. So go back to your question, it's like, you're really dealing with the Anunnaki beings like Enki and Enlil and Ninurta and Erishkigal and all these Anunnakis where the story was taken from into the English. When you go into the Islam, it's the same thing. When you're saying Allah, you're really saying Allah, which is Elo, which is the Elo or the Elohim. See what I mean? So it's like, it's the same being in different, because remember the 3 monotheistic religions go back to Abraham. And Abraham and his father Terah, they were fire worshippers, and they were like, do you know what I mean? They didn't even practice what people are saying Hebrew or whatever today. So it's like, there's a lot of distortions and confusion, and then people will try and tell you it's not plural, that it's singular. But then it doesn't make sense in the English either, because you're saying, let us go down there and confound their language. Let us make man in our image and our likeness. So it's like,
who's he talking to?
Who are you talking to?
They're having a dialogue.
Someone's having a dialogue.
Having a dialogue,
And even when they try and tell you in Christianity that no, it was Jesus that was with God. It's like, okay, cool. So, but he wasn't born yet. He wasn't there yet. And like, okay, how is he there? And you say he's God and he's having a conversation with himself. And what will be the point of you talking to yourself if no one else is there? Do you know what I mean? Like, you only say, I'm going into the room. You want me to, like, I'm going into the room, I'm going to put all my clothes on, talking to yourself. Like, there's no point. So clearly it's a dialogue or a conversation between people. So they say, in the beginning was the word. And you say, Okay, and what was that word? They don't know.
Right.
And the word was God.
Right.
And then that word became flesh.
Right.
So you're talking about tones, we're saying the language,
Tone, yeah.
coming and manifesting into flesh. And that's when people came. So when you start to look at the origins of these religions, some being always comes to someone to start off the
Right.
like the form,
Chain
the
reaction.
creation, the making or something.
Yeah.
So Angel Gabriel will come to Muhammad or, do you know what I mean, Abraham, or someone comes to someone, and this is these extraterrestrials that we're talking about. That's who you're going back to. That's who you're calling on. And all of them are not in your best interest.
Got you.
Yeah.
So then,
So
what
you
would
have
you
to align yourself with the right ones.
Okay. So then, collectively, what's people be doing? Because if they're all over the place,
collectively,
people
should be reading the scrolls from the master teacher
That's a nice little plug-in. Nice little plug-in.
That's the reality, and learning and knowing what we're talking about, and then coming together in communities, working together to change the narrative that has had people's minds trapped. Because that's what's happened. Your mind's then trapped, and you're taught that if you don't believe this book and you don't belong to this gang, then you're not part of us. And that creates divisions, because then you have different gangs that say exactly the same thing. Then they fight each other on who's right and who's wrong.
Right.
And it's like, it just creates wars and chaos, and the people take up, weapons or whatever. And it goes back to the story in, Cain and Abel, and him then, taking his brother out. And that story just repeats when you've got Enki and Enlil. You got Jacob and Esau. It just goes on and on and on. Because the minute you're taught that you're different or given competition, that's the end of it. Because competition breeds this conflict and war. And even if it comes in the form of football teams or rap teams or musicians, whatever you look at it, the minute you're set up to be competing against each other,
failing,
you're going to fail.
Yeah.
So it's really about, I'm not saying don't have fun, but know that you can do something for fun and everyone enjoys themselves and go home. But not to the point where, you put on your underwear with boxing gloves to knock out another person's brain till they, do you know what I mean? Like, they're dizzy and
pulverized.
Yeah, and or whatever. And the reason is, it kind of goes back to the Roman and the Greeks empires that you were following, because they had like, they had like the Colosseums with the gladiators and fighting to death and things like that. It's like, now you're just given money for it. Money to put out gangster rap, or money to do this or do that. And the puppet master that's pulling the strings.
Yeah, it's all there.
It's just enjoying it and laughing because he's like setting you up. So we have to wake up now and realize, we can do so much more in terms of, and the question you should ask, right, a lot of times is, if money wasn't an object in this society, what would you do? Meaning, like, you had everything you needed. Got somewhere to live, food to eat, your health is good, anything you want today. So there's no need for hustle and bustle, going to do the 9 to 5 to get the money to do the this, and then you got more than me, or you got a bigger house. And right, if everyone was cool,
even playing field,
what would you do next?
Me personally?
Yeah, I'm putting the question to you, but I will say, like, to everyone, what would you spend your time doing?
Me personally, I would teach people my skills.
That's what we used to do in ancient times.
Yeah.
Because now you're looking at, how do you improve conditions for everyone?
Yeah.
For the planet, for, whatever. Like, we use our mind to say, okay, let's try and figure out how to get off this planet. how to do things that it's not based around, the divisions and the competitions. Then you start to put minds together, and the more minds, and you're like, whoa, like, you can create galaxies, design and create planets and galaxies and universe, and then maintain them.
Right.
This is where our ancestors are at.
And this is
what we're trying to catch up to.
And I feel like because of all the division, that's why we're so far behind.
Yeah,
hence why I read you that tale, what I was saying about the alien, right? Saying that that our emotions are smelly,
Yes.
right?
I thought that was beautiful way of explaining it.
Because where I got that from was this pilot, and he talked about this mission that he went on.
Right.
And maybe you heard the story before. And he went on this mission, and it was with some allegedly with some intergalactic beings to do some mission. And the alien said to him, "Oh, you know, something about your kind doesn't really work with me, or something like I don't really like your kind." And the human guy said, "Why not?" And he says, because your emotions are very smelly, right? So I was guessing that because we have all this duality and whatnot, we're always warring. And then he said, with us, we don't have that language problem because we're telepathic, and we don't have any issues. We just have progression.
Absolutely.
That's
That's kind of where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
And you explain what you just said, how deep it is, and how we take it for granted. Like, they teach you that the house of God is church, or the synagogue, you know, but let's just go with the church. And in the church, there's a central part where they have something called an altar. And in the Bible, they tell you that, you know, these prophets and beings, they had to sacrifice on an altar for God.
Okay.
It goes into the whole kind of like God-like, into the smell, the burnt carcass.
Oh,
and you know,
that's the Moloch
blood.
thing. Moloch,
Exactly.
Baal, and all them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But where I'm going with
Okay.
this is that you are the church,
Uh-huh.
and in your center,
Right.
you have that solar plexus I was speaking about.
Right.
And it's the burning that takes place, because what you're doing is you're taking in oxygen, and then that is burning,
Right. Yeah.
and that's why you're giving back out carbon dioxide.
Right.
Carbon is a residue of burning.
Fusion, right?
So what you put into your body, because whatever you put into your body turns into liquid, and then interacts with your blood, and the acid in the blood is what's burning it. So when you're eating meat, or red meat and blood meat, you're putting that in, and it's that burning, and then your body is actually porous.
Yeah.
So you have pores, and that smell comes out of you.
Got you.
But that smell also can come out through sweat.
Yeah.
Comes out through your adrenaline, and comes out through when you've got these emotions, anger and so forth. Anger being the lowest vibration. And so you got two sides to your nature. The reptilian nature, which is the one that likes that kind of, like I said, the
Chaos.
blood meat, the chaos, the adrenaline, the anger, that remind me of that rapper Doty. And then you have the God side, or the Natharu side, which is peace, calm, tune with nature, and like the balance has to come in, because if you feed too much to your negative or the disagreeable side, so animals and beings, like when you talk about Bigfoot, right? They try to find Bigfoot, and he always eludes them.
Yeah.
We actually got a book called Bigfoot, because there's three types: the brown,
Sasquatch, and the Yeti, and the blah blah.
But the point I'm making is that animals can smell you from far off. So when hunters are trying to, they're long gone, because they smell you, and they know. And it's the same with the Bigfoot. Like, so what you're saying there is true, right? Where a lot of extraterrestrials or beings of that higher consciousness, they've evolved to the point where their emotions are in check.
Yeah.
Because remember, emotions is energy in motion. So it's not that you shouldn't have emotions, just like it's not like you shouldn't have ego.
Sure.
But is it balanced? Is it controlled? Or is it energy in motion, which can be destructive if you're dealing with anger? Because you hear people, and I mentioned this in the Valentine's video as well, where emotions be like, let's say you've got a mate or someone in a relationship, and you think they're yours, they belong, because people say my wife, my girlfriend, like you own them.
Yeah.
And if they happen to fall out of love with you, or they cheat on you or whatever, people can literally, and it was on the news recently, like they allow their emotions, because of that attachment, get to them to the point where they may get a gun, unalive the female, unalive the male, and then unalive themselves.
Right, full circle.
Some guy did it the other day, and he drove to the river or something, and then jumped off. And I'm saying that's all from emotions. So extraterrestrials or beings of high intelligence, they've mastered their emotion to the point where they understand that the physical world is really materialism, and they can really re-inherit a new body, because it's really about your real being, your soul, and so forth. And we're not encouraging that, you should unalive yourself or do something silly, because you should defend yourself if the need comes. But yeah, so a lot of these extraterrestrial beings, they can smell our emotions. They can smell how the things we eat, how they ooze out of us. And yeah, they don't like humans. Even just the temperament of humans, like, because if me and you have got a job to do, we've got to do something. If I allow emotions get in the way, we won't get the job done. You see, so sometimes you literally have to take out emotions out of the equation so that you can operate using your mind and using your heart, but not let the emotions run away with you. So I can definitely relate to what that extraterrestrial you call alien is saying.
The alien, yeah, man. And then, yeah, that's why at the end I said that that the person fought that I'm going to beat his ass like Jim Kelly. He didn't say it.
Yeah.
But because he could know, he said, "Are you
Yeah,
sure you're
telepathy,
ready?
yeah.
Sure you're ready?" Yeah, what happened to the talk about the belly? Because you mentioned, like, don't let the good intentions change.
Yeah.
But the moment the alien said something funny, all of a sudden he wants to kill the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the whole thing about freedom of speech.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you got freedom of speech, but you can only say so much or get to a certain point before it's like, hey, we got to take you out.
Yeah.
Right, but I thought I had freedom of speech.
No.
I thought I had free will.
Well, there's a fine print.
Yeah. And they're like, yeah, because you got free will doesn't mean that you can say what you want. Like, huh? Make it make sense.
It won't, because I think it was someone that was explaining that the idea that when you're born and you start, your birth certificate is a contract, isn't it, to that state or that country or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a contract within a contract. You have the blind contract that you sign as you come down, and you have the contract that's your parents sign as you are.
Yeah.
So yeah, that freedom of speech is already gone.
Yeah.
on birth.
You're bamboozled. Right?
Yeah, it's like a stamp.
And you got to learn about the fictitious you versus the real you.
Persona, ego, business.
Well, that's what exactly. Because when you're dealing with commerce and dealing with, literally, it's a construct.
Yeah.
And then you get played into that.
Right.
Like the Truman Show you were saying.
Yeah.
They're literally like, now they've got technology that can record you from birth till you're gone. The technology is there now. There's so much memory now available. And with 4G, 5G and everything, it's like, it's different level. You can break yourself down, like they used to show you on Star Trek, and then be transported somewhere else, and then
that's
reassembled. It's happening.
Okay.
But people, that's what I'm saying. Everything's happening at the same time.
And also happened, right?
And also happened, because it's a cycle. And it's just whether you're aware or not, or you're in that circle or know about that or not. But it's always there. Yeah. So it's about being in the right place at the right time. And that's what Pana Babyanun and Wusabat are here to do, to give you that empowerment. But you have to do the work. You have to do the work. There's no one's gonna. It's like me saying, you can be healthy and fit, but you got to exercise. But I'm not gonna come and do your exercise for you. Right. You have to do it.
You have to do the work.
Yeah, and that's the bit that the courage, commitment, and consistency comes in. You definitely have to. And sometimes people are afraid, because it's a change, and it's like people are afraid of change. But the one thing that is constant is change.
Yeah. Definitely.
Even if you just sat down and didn't move, you're gonna grow older. Your nails are gonna grow. Your hair's gonna grow, and you're gonna get old. So, might as well
just roll with it.
Roll with it.
Basic. Are you finding more people are more I don't know, like attuned or clued up since you've been doing OSM? Like, what's been the feedback? What you've been putting out. What's been coming back?
Like we say, our souls matter, and we get people from all over the world that are tuning in, coming in, and just sharing their experience. And you know, the Telegram group is so phenomenal because you don't know who is on there from, you know, the whole four corners of the planet. So the feedback has been fantastic. It's been great. To be honest, another reality check that the doorway that people need to, I guess, it's another level. Like most of the time, people think about living, but they don't think about the other opposite. We say unalive, so we don't get flagged.
Fair play. All right.
But
the other realm.
yeah, it's like you can't destroy energy. So it's like, why do you really fear that?
Right.
It's like the transition from one state to another.
Right.
And that goes back to the ego because you think, you know, me, myself, and I go do this, I go do that, I've done this, I'm going to do this. But like, no one knows when that moment will come. So you have to be ready and prepared for it at all times.
Right.
But the fear, because you can say to somebody, don't be afraid as much as you like. But when that fear kicks in, it's only down to them that they're going to either
act
or flee, you know. Is it flight or flee? Yeah.
Flight or fight.
That's it.
Yeah.
So that moment, it's only that person that will make that choice, you know, like, and unfortunately, as much as people are waking up, it could be expedited, it could be done more because the programming in the last 6,000 years has actually been quite, thorough to the point where people literally fight to wake up. And
how? Like what does that look like?
Have you watched the movie They Live?
Oh, that's a great movie. Keith David and
yeah. But
Roddy Piper.
Do you remember the fight scene?
In the hallway, he's like, "You need this trash can."
Hey man, it's like he literally had to fight him and then force the glasses on his eyes.
Because he wasn't having it, right?
He wasn't having it.
So that's okay.
That's what's happening. Where people will fight to hold on to the things that are taking them
traditions and
it's
kind of
self-established. Self-established. It's like people will fight you to the death to just wake up. And so that's what's happening. So it is better, but I would say there's always room for improvement. And that's why every time I speak to somebody new, it's good because I'm like, each one reaching one.
Right.
And it just keeps the flow because we're living in a day and time where the world is small now. You know, everything's close. Like you're just a phone call away or a video away from something happening on the other side of the world. And so the exponential growth is good. And that's why, you know, platforms like YouTube and Instagram and all the social media are helpful because information can be shared very quickly. And so the more we keep sharing and keep reaching out to people, we are liberating them because, like you said, those bonds, those ties of religion and, you know, like I've been doing this for 20, 30 years. What they're going to think about me? Or I can't speak like this in front of people. And all that fear. And it's like holds people back. But we just come on, we just release the change. Just mental. Release the change and from mentally. And then now it's down to you. And that's the first step. You got to take that first step. And they tell you, you know, every journey begins with the first step. And that's your first step. You have to take that. But once you take that one step, it's like a baby, you know, when it's first, everyone waits to say, oh, the baby's going to took her first step or his first step.
Right.
And everyone's happy because they know once you can get to 1,
that's it.
You can get to 10.
Right.
If you can get to 10, you can get to 100.
Right.
If you can get to 100, you can get to 1,000.
Right.
You can get to 1,000, you can get to 10,000.
Right.
From 10,000, you can get to 100,000. When you get to 100,000, it's a million next.
A million next.
Yeah, and then there's no limits after that. So, you know, they tell you, oh, play the lottery so you can become a millionaire.
Right.
Because that's supposed to be like, okay, you shouldn't really be broke again after you got a million. But there are people...
Oh, there's many.
...that haven't been trained in financial literacy that will get a million and will blow it and be back broke.
Yeah.
But there's those who will get that opportunity.
Right.
And that's it. They'll never turn back again, you know. So it's down to you. You've got $1 million opportunity right here in Wusabat and Partner Babyanun, because this only happens once in a lifetime. Every 24,000 years this happens. So you're living in a moment right now that is happening. That's why I said you're living in the great and dreadful day of the Lord, as they say, and you got to take that opportunity, or you're gonna miss it.
Yeah. On that note of the 24,000, is there a way to know what attempt this is? You know, the
For
soul's
yourself.
attempt. Yeah. Is there a way about
There's
that?
always a way to know,
Okay.
which is if you have the opportunity for Partner Babian, to tell you. Other than that,
nada.
nah.
Okay.
Nah, because you could be on your last one, or it could be.
Right.
I mean, we do have an indication with those children that have those souls that have only come here this time for the first time. Not that they haven't been in other places, but here, children that were born between 1973 and 2003.
Oh, you
Those are
talked
new
about
souls,
those,
yeah.
and then people were like, "Oh my, what are these?"
Yeah, the golden children. So yeah, everyone would like to be or claim it, but you never know. Like you said, you may be, you may not be, but don't claim it. Just let it flow.
Just be.
Yeah, let it be.
It's like Willy Wonka and the Golden Ticket.
The golden ticket. Yeah, that's right.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to bring it to a close, round
Yes,
off,
man.
because I got.
Oh yes, it's time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Man.
I know it's like we got into a time warp, man. It's
I
like
know.
we could go on forever.
I
But
know.
I'm sure we could have another part
Next time, and
Yeah,
I
man.
still got information for you another time.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, you're always welcome back. But
Thank you for having
appreciate love you. Thank you for coming.
Thank
and yeah, I shook. Divine love.
Likewise, man.
All right, bro.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Once again.
Yes.
Yeah, energy flow, man. Energy flow.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. All right.